Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome back to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at Cid's new Limit Break Draw banner, and basically give you guys my full thoughts on this banner. Should you go for it now? What's good about it? What might not be good about it? Etc., etc. So that being said, let's just get straight into it. Alright, so I'm going to jump over here. The first thing I want to see is actually the animation of the attack. I always think that's a cool thing to see on new banners, new weapons. Alright, so here it is. It does look pretty sick, not going to lie. I do like it so far. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go take a look at his costume. Now, I did this in my patch updates video, and I gotta say, guys, this is probably one of my least favorite costumes in the game. I like the direction. I like the feel. You know, obviously Cid, his dream is to go to space, and you know, an astronaut costume is an interesting take, but I feel like it doesn't really come together. I feel like it's lacking anything cool about it. I know if you guys like it, I'm sorry. I fully support you guys going out and loving it, but this is just my feeling. I just feel like it just doesn't look good at all. He's got the double tie over, like, you know, it's tied around in the front, but it's like, looks like it's missing a sleeve, I guess. Like, where's the other sleeve that's tied around? Like, just looks hecka strange. And then you've got, like, what is this visor? What even is that visor for? That is definitely not for going to space. This visor is not for going to space. So then you got this, like, kind of, you know, pale blue color. Like, the weapon itself looks so sick, guys. It's a really cool weapon. I think it looks pretty freaking radical. I like how big it is. I think it really, like, adds more to the splendor of the weapon. So that part is really cool, but the costume, super lackluster in my opinion. I got to give this thing like a 1.5 out of 10. Was really hoping for more with Cid. But, you know, he is going to be an interesting character. It does look like he's more primarily focused on, like, buffing / debuffing. So, you know, that's always good to have. It is always good to have that stuff. So that being said, let's take an actual look at the costume stats. I do think that this is, you know, probably the best thing on this banner. Enfeeble is definitely interesting. We'll get to Enfeeble here in a second. But the R abilities have a new R ability, which is buff debuff extension all allies, which will give 20% buff debuff duration to all allies. So a very good all-around costume, and then that paired with cosmic protection, which is going to give him physical and magic defense plus 20%, physical and magic attack plus 10%. Obviously, this is a very, 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 very good costume, guys. And if you can go for it, if you have the extra crystals for it, I think pulling just to the costume is probably a good idea for most players. However, I will put this out there, guys, that there is a chance with the Final Fantasy VII remake coming to PC on January 23rd, which is next Thursday, the day after the next patch. There's a chance that we do get a, you know, a Rebirth Reawakened crossover banner. Now, the question is, will they put this at the end of January, right, which would come out for the Guild War? But then we would be literally getting 3 limited banners in the first month of the year, which I don't think is a good look for Applebot. It does look like they've just, like, latched onto the ideas of limited stuff recently, and I don't think that the players are really responding that great to it. So we'll just have to see. I think there's a 50-50 chance. So for me, I'm definitely going to wait until next Wednesday to pull this. I would love to get a copy of this costume, never to wear it. I'll always use a different skin. I mean, to use the costume for sure, but to never use this aesthetic, which is unfortunate, guys. It is unfortunate, but It is what it is, all right? So, that being said, costume for me, I'm going to give it like 10 out of 10, except for how it looks, which I'm going to give it 1 out of 10. Um, and now let's go over and take a look at the Rocket Lance, all right? So we're going to take a look at this thing at OB1. So it's going to come in with 375 magic attack. The ability is Cosmic Burst. This is going to have a 4 ATB cost, deal 450% magic non-elemental damage, all right? It has a crit rate of 10%. The best thing about this weapon is the new status effect Enfeeble, which essentially will add 1 tier to any debuff that's on the enemy as far as I understand. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments and I will change it in the description, but I'm pretty sure that what this does is just adds a tier. So if you have a high tier magic defense break on the enemy and you enfeeble the enemy, that's going to push that high tier break to a 4 tier break, right? So, which is very powerful. Now, it's stuck on this Ice Imperil weapon, right? Now, the Ice Imperil is mid, right? But when you couple it with the Enfeeble, even at OB1, this should be imperiling to high, right? Now, it says max potency, but I'm pretty sure the Enfeeble would push this up 1 tier, allowing the Ice Imperil to actually hit high before you get the weapon to OB6. Once you get this weapon to OB6, then actually the Enfeeble would push this into a 4 tier Ice Imperil, which is very, very, very solid, guys. It is super solid, and probably Enfeeble is going to be something that we're going to be seeing more often in the game. So it's definitely an interesting thing to bring to Sid, which I've looked at his weapons, and I will be doing a video where I basically go through and look at all of his new weapons coming into the game. But he does look to be, like I was saying earlier, like primarily a buff slash debuffer character. So having Enfeeble and allowing him to push those breaks up 1 tier is really going to help. I think that Sid is going to be a huge boon in the coming Guild War. You know, you would be pairing this Rocket Lance with his new weapon Scimitar, I believe, which also adds a Ice Elemental potency up to one of your DPS that you choose to cast it on. So he's going to be very, very strong support for not just breaking the enemies, but also buffing your own characters. So that being said, the weapon is definitely good. The banner is definitely good. It's better than I originally took it for. I wish the aesthetics on the costume looked better, because even though most of the time I pull for mechanics, it is definitely always great to have something that looks awesome. That's something that you're excited to see in battle. And for me, this costume just doesn't really quite do it. Now let's take a look at the R abilities here. All right, so we have a boost attack all allies. All right, so this is what we saw on Tifa's blue daffodil gloves. All right. And then we have buff debuff extension in the second slot there as well. For support abilities, we have physical attack boost on a magic weapon. All right. Sometimes I cannot with these guys. It's just like, it's like they don't double check their own ideas, right? So this literally makes no sense to me. Why would there be a double physical attack boost on a magic focused weapon? So super strange, very weird. Of course, we get a sigil boost here. This is X. Nothing crazy. We haven't seen anything new in the support abilities for a while. Like I said in my last video, I feel like Applebot has been lacking some creativity in this department. And I feel like they should maybe take a step away from the drawing board and really try to come up with new things that could be fun for the players, and at least have the support abilities match the weapon. Right? Like at the very least, and this is a mistake that has gone back to, you know, the original launch of the game. So it is crazy that these mistakes are still happening. I'm guessing these are mistakes. If you guys could think of why this would have a physical attack boost on it, I am all ears. I would love to hear it. All right, so let's take this weapon up to OB6, all right? So at OB6, magic attack 589, Cosmic Burst will deal 550% magic non-elemental damage, crit rate 10%. Enfeeble is applies. It's going to have a 50-second duration. which is pretty damn solid, especially with all the buff debuff duration. I'm pretty sure it's also on his ultimate weapon, the free one. All right. So it's going to last a while, and it only goes up 5 seconds from OB1, which is nice, right? So even with a base 5-star version of this weapon, it is going to be pretty solid, guys. So there's not really a super strong incentive to pull to the second page, although honestly getting this weapon to OB6 and having that Imperil go to a 4-tier break is going to be very powerful for basically any ice team in the game, right? So let's go back to OB6 right here. Enfeeble will last 50 seconds with an extension of 10 seconds. The Ice Imperil goes to high with a duration of 25 seconds, so all looking good right there. Boost attack all allies goes to 40 points. All right, 40 points is going to get us in the main hand physical magic attack plus 30 and 11% to each one. All right, and in the offhand, it'll be plus 20 and 7% to each one. Then we have the buff debuff extension here at 27, all right, which is also pretty solid. Now, taking this weapon up to OB10, right, is magic attack 643, so not a super high stat, kind of on the lower end for the actual magic attack up. And it's only going to go from 550% to 620% magic non-elemental damage, all right? The Enfeeble, however, will go from 50 seconds to 70 seconds. So that is going to last a while, guys. Then we have the Ice Imperil here. It does look like the Enfeeble will outlast any of or most of the breaks that are on the enemy. The question is that will the Enfeeble increase the duration of the Imperil, right? Because it has literally twice the duration of it. So I'm guessing that Enfeeble is just a secondary debuff that has its own little box, and while it's up, any breaks that are put on the enemy will get an extra tier, something like that. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that it's not going to increase the duration of the other breaks on the enemy, but that being said, it is still definitely a very powerful weapon. Now, the R abilities are going to go to 46 for boost attack all, buff debuff duration will go to 39, and yeah, that's going to basically wrap up this weapon, guys. I think that, you know, if you guys are on the fence with crystals, like for me, I have about 50k right now, and we know that there are, you know, at the end of February, beginning of March, we're going to get the 1.5 year anniversary, which was a huge set of banners. I think when we first got it, right, it was like Cloud and Glenn, then Zac and Sephiroth, followed by Kate Sith. There was a bunch of stuff going on. So we'll probably at least get 2 limited banners for the 1.5 year anniversary. Like I said, there's also a chance that the Final Fantasy VII Remake Crossover Reawaken comes out. You know, so I think that at this point in time, it's really important to play your resources carefully. So I think that unless you guys have a pretty big surplus of resources, or you really love Sid, I think it's best to just wait till next Wednesday. I mean, Sid is definitely going to be a huge player in the coming Guild War, but you can still use Sid in the coming Guild War by waiting until next Wednesday, right? The Guild War is going to start. We're going to have 3 days of mocks, and then the battles are not going to start until Saturday, so there's really no incentive to rush and pull this weapon. So I think it's better to wait just to see if we do get a like a Rebirth crossover Reawaken banner, because if it is Cloud and it's his costume from Rebirth, I feel like it would be super cool. Now, for me, if I was going to pull on this banner, I would definitely at least pull to the costume. Of course, you would probably want to go through the second page because you're trying to get that Imperil to high, but I do think that even if you don't get the Imperil to high, even if you just get, you know, 1 or 2 copies of this weapon, the costume is going to be valuable for a very long time, right? And the weapon itself with Enfeeble is going to be super helpful, you know, so I don't think there's necessarily a reason to shoot all the way for the second page unless you actually have all the extra resources and you're in a good place and prepared for what might come in the coming weeks after that, guys. So that being said, I think the banner is overall pretty solid. I think the costume is really good. I think the weapon is good. It's going to have definitely an impact in the coming Guild War. But I do think that for most players, guys, we should wait at least until next Wednesday just to see what is on the horizon, etc., etc. So that being said, guys, this is going to conclude my to pull or not to pull video. I'm curious, are you guys pulling for Sid? What do you guys think about Sid? Are you psyched on him? Do you think that he's better than you thought, worse than you thought? And like I said, I will be putting out a video kind of overviewing all of his weapons that have been added to the general pool in the game and giving my thoughts on those, as soon as I can get that video out. So that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis content. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.